What's up, crypto family? I'm back with another update. Right now, we're sitting at 14.95. But wait, I have a exclusive interview of Elon Musk speaking about the cryptocurrency on Mars and how it will be regulated and how he will not be using Dogecoin for Mars. It has to be a separate coin, an interplanetary coin, in which it is Dogelon Mars. All right. Dogecoin is going to the moon. This is crazy. Like everything that's going on right now, I done said this before. Dogecoin is for the moon, and Dogelon Mars is for Mars, for us Martians. Okay. Now, before I even get into that interview, Rosie Rios, the lady who has her name on all the money, says a former U.S. treasurer on crypto investing in 2022. The train has already left the station. The train has left the station, baby. And that's her right there. And she's back in cryptocurrency. This is just telling you right now, 2022 is our year. If you're just now thinking about investing in cryptocurrencies or blockchain technology, former U.S. Treasury Rosie Rios says you're probably already too late to get in on the ground floor. The train has already left the station, Rios, who served as a treasurer in the Obama administration from 2009 to 2016, tells CNBC Make It. Blockchain technology is here. Rios, a visiting scholar at Harvard University, has built much of her post-government career around investing in crypto. She's a board member for a blockchain startup, Ripple, XRP, baby. We already know that's going to skyrocket, of real estate investment consulting firm Red River Associates. Okay? Based on her experiences, Rios says she has one piece of advice for anyone looking to invest in blockchain-based platforms or assets like cryptocurrencies or NFTs. Stick to easy, basic questions like, is the product practical or is there room for growth? All right. And what she says is, whether there is intrinsic value is very meaningful to me, she says. And she was like, for her, that means understanding how it can be used responsibly and whether it can save you real world time or money. That's the main reason why she joined Ripple's board. She says its cryptocurrency XRP advertises the ability to facilitate cross-border payments faster and cheaper than traditional foreign exchange services. Okay, so we got XRP running the earth, okay? This is the currency for earth, XRP. Dogecoin is going to be running the moon. And what we got, Dogelon Mars will be running Mars, family. And the thing about it is, he is not using Dogecoin for Mars. Dogecoin is going to be for the moon. Okay? Like what I said, the train has already left the station. Okay? Right now, you see these prices, they're not going to be the same. They're not going to be the same in 2022. There will be millionaires. There will be billionaires made in 2022. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and play this interview. And I'm going to let it ride. Listen to it. Don't just hop off of this video and thinking like it's crap. No, this is valuable information. Take heed.
Every year, and you get more and more of them, then eventually you won't be able to do anything. You're just like Gulliver with, tied down by thousands of little strings. And we see that in, U.S. and like basically all economies that have been around for a while, and regulators and legislators create new rules and regulations every year, but they don't put effort into removing them. And I think that's very important that we put effort into removing rules and regulations. But it gets tough because you get special interests that then are dependent on, like they have a vested interest in that whatever rule and regulation, and that they fight to not get it removed.
Yeah, so I guess the problem with the Constitution is it's kind of like C versus Java, because it doesn't have any garbage collection built in. I think there should be. When you first said the metaphor of garbage collection, I loved
from
it.
a coding standpoint.
From a coding standpoint, yeah. It would be interesting if the laws themselves kind of had a built-in thing where they kind of die after a while unless somebody explicitly publicly defends them.
Yeah.
So so it's not like somebody has to kill them; they kind of die themselves. They disappear.
Yeah.
Not to defend Java or anything, but with C++, you could also have great garbage collection in Python and so on.
Yeah. So something needs to happen, or just the civilization's arteries just harden over time, and you can just get less and less done because there's just a rule against everything. So I think, like, I don't know, for Mars or whatever, I'd say, or even for, obviously for Earth as well, like, I think there should be an active process for removing rules and regulations and questioning their existence. Just, like, if we've got a function for creating rules and regulations, because rules and regulations you can also think of as like, they're like software or lines of code for operating civilization. That's the rules and regulations. So it's not like we shouldn't have rules and regulations, but you have code accumulation, but no code removal. And so it just gets to become basically archaic bloatware after a while. And it's just, it makes it hard for things to progress. So I don't know, maybe Mars, you'd have like any given law must have a sunset, and require active voting to keep it up there, And I should also say, like, and these are just, I don't know, recommendations or thoughts, ultimately it will be up to the people on Mars to decide, but I think it should be easier to remove a law than to add one because of just to overcome the inertia of laws. So maybe it's like, for argument's sake, you need, like, say 60% vote to have a law take effect, but only a 40% vote to remove it.
So let me be the guy. You posted a meme on Twitter recently where there's like a row of urinals. A guy just walks all the way across.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he tells you about crypto.
I mean, that's happened to me so many times. I think maybe even literally.
Yeah. Do you think, technologically speaking, there's any room for ideas of smart contracts or so on? Because you mentioned laws. That's an interesting use of things like smart contracts to implement the laws by which governments function. And like something built on Ethereum, or maybe a Dogecoin that enables smart contracts somehow.
I don't quite understand this whole smart contract thing. I mean,
so
I'm too dumb to understand smart contracts.
That's a good line.
I mean, my general approach to any kind of like deal or whatever is just make sure there's clarity of understanding. That's the most important thing.
Right.
And just keep any kind of deal very, very short and simple, plain language. And just make sure everyone understands this is the deal. Is it clear? And what are the consequences if various things don't happen? But usually deals are, business deals or whatever are way too long and complex and overly lawyered and pointlessly.
You mentioned that Doge is the people's coin.
Yeah.
And you said that you were literally SpaceX may consider literally putting a Doge coin on the moon. Is this something you're still considering? Mars, perhaps? Do you think there's some chance, we've talked about political systems on Mars, that Dogecoin is the official currency of Mars at some point in the future?
Well, I think Mars itself will need to have a different currency because you can't synchronize due to speed of light. No, not easily.
So it must be completely standalone from Earth.
Well, yeah, because the Mars is at closest approach, it's 4 light minutes away roughly, and then at furthest approach, it's roughly 20 light minutes away, maybe a little more. So you can't really have something synchronizing. If you got a 20-minute speed of light issue, if it's got a 1-minute blockchain, it's not going to synchronize properly. So Mars would I don't know if Mars will have a cryptocurrency as a thing, but probably seems likely. But it would be some kind of localized thing on Mars.
And you let the people decide.
Yeah, absolutely. The future of Mars should be up to the Martians. Yeah, so I mean, I think the cryptocurrency thing is an interesting approach to reducing the error in the database that is called money. I think I have a pretty deep understanding of what money actually is on a practical day-to-day basis because of PayPal. I really got in deep there. And right now, the money system, actually, for practical purposes, is really a bunch of heterogeneous mainframes running old COBOL.
Okay, you mean literally? That's
literally
that's literally what's happening
in batch mode. Okay,
in batch mode.
Yeah, pity the poor bastards who have to maintain that code. Okay, that's a pain. That's pain.
Not even Fortran, Cobalt. Yep,
it's COBOL. And the banks are still buying mainframes in 2021 and running ancient COBOL code. The Federal Reserve is probably even older than what the banks have, and they have an old COBOL mainframe. And so now, so the government effectively has editing privileges on the money database, and they use those editing privileges to make more money whenever they want. And this increases the error in the database that is money. So I think money should really be viewed through the lens of information theory. And so it's kind of like an internet connection. Like, what's the bandwidth? Total bit rate. What is the latency, jitter, packet drop? Errors in the network communication. Just think of money like that, basically. I think that's probably the right way to think of it. And then say what system, from an information theory standpoint, allows an economy to function the best. Crypto is an attempt to reduce the error in money that is contributed by governments diluting the money supply as basically a pernicious form of taxation.
So both policy in terms of with inflation and actual technological cobalt, cryptocurrency takes us into the 21st century in terms of the actual systems that allow you to do the transaction, to store wealth, all those kinds of things.
Like I said, just think of money as information. People often will think of money as having power in and of itself. It does not. Money is information, and it does not have power in and of itself. Again, applying the physics tools of thinking about things in the limit is helpful. If you are stranded on a tropical island and you have $1 trillion, it's useless because there's no resource allocation. Money is a database for resource allocation, but there's no resources to allocate except yourself. So money is useless. If you're stranded on a desert island with no food, all the Bitcoin in the world will not stop you from starving.
Yeah.
So, just think of money as a database for resource allocation across time and space, and then what system it is in what form should that database or data system, what would be most effective? Now, there is a fundamental issue with say Bitcoin in its current form, in that the transaction volume is very limited, and the latency the latency for a properly confirmed transaction is too long, much longer than you'd like. So it's actually not great from transaction volume standpoint or latency standpoint. So it is perhaps useful as to solve an aspect of the money database problem, which is this sort of store of wealth or an accounting of relative obligations, I suppose. But it is not useful as a currency, as a day-to-day currency.
But people have proposed different technological solutions.
Like Lightning.
Lightning Network and layer 2 technologies on top of that. I mean, it's all, it seems to be all kind of a trade-off. But the point is, it's kind of brilliant to say that just think about information, think about what kind of database, what kind of infrastructure enables that exchange of
like you're
information.
operating an economy, and you need to have something that allows for the to have efficient value ratios between products and services. So you got this massive number of products and services, and you need to, you can't just barter. It's like, that would be extremely unwieldy. So you need something that gives you a ratio of exchange between goods and services. And then something that allows you to shift obligations across time, like debt and equity, shift obligations across time. Then what does the best job of that? Part of the reason why I think there's some merit to Dogecoin, even though it was obviously created as a joke, is that it actually does have a much higher transaction volume capability than Bitcoin. And the cost of doing a transaction, the Dogecoin fee is very low. Like right now, if you want to do a Bitcoin transaction, the price of doing that transaction is very high. So you could not use it effectively for most things. And nor could it even scale to a high volume. And when Bitcoin was, started, I guess around 2008 or something like that, the internet connections were much worse than they are today, like order of magnitude. They're way worse, in 2008. So like having a small block size or whatever is, and a long synchronization time made sense in 2008. But 2021, or fast forward 10 years, it's like comically low. And I think there's some value to having a linear increase in the amount of currency that is generated. So because some amount of the currency, if a currency is too deflationary, or I should say, if a currency is expected to increase in value over time, there's reluctance to spend it. Because you're like, I'll just hold it and not spend it because its scarcity is increasing with time. So if I spend it now, then I will regret spending it. So I will just, hodl it. Mm-hmm. But if there's some dilution of the currency occurring over time, that's more of an incentive to use it as a currency. So Dogecoin, somewhat randomly, has a fixed number of sort of coins or hash strings that are generated every year. So there's some inflation, but it's not a percentage base. It's a fixed number. So the percentage of inflation will necessarily decline over time. I'm not saying that it's like the ideal system for a currency, but I think it actually is just fundamentally better than anything else I've seen, just by accident. So
I like how you said around 2008. So you're not, some people suggested you might be Satoshi Nakamoto. You've previously said you're not. Let me ask.
Not.
You're not, for sure. Would you tell us if you were?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think it's a feature or bug that he's anonymous, or she, or they? It's an interesting kind of quirk of human history that there is a particular technology that is a completely anonymous inventor or creator.
Well, I mean, you can look at the evolution of ideas before the launch of Bitcoin and see who wrote, about those ideas, and then I don't know exactly. Obviously, I don't know who created Bitcoin for practical purposes, but the evolution of ideas is pretty clear before that, and it seems as though Nick Szabo is probably more than anyone else responsible for the evolution of those ideas. So, he claims not to be Nakamoto, but I'm not sure that's neither here nor there. But he seems to be the one more responsible for the ideas behind Bitcoin than anyone else.
So it's not perhaps singular figures aren't even as important as the figures involved in the evolution of ideas that led to a thing. So
yeah,
it's perhaps it's sad to think about history, but maybe most names would be forgotten anyway.
What is a name anyway? It's a name attached to an idea. What does it even mean, really?
I think Shakespeare had a thing about roses and stuff, whatever he said.
Rose by any other name would smell sweet.
That when Mr. Trump, whether you love him or hate him, this was the beginning of the greatest transformation of wealth the world has ever fucking seen since World War II. See, I know what he was going to do. I know what he's going to do now. And he hasn't even got started. Now, what are you going to tell your kids and your grandkids 25 years from now when they say, gee, Daddy, gee, Grandpa, what were you doing other than having your thumb up your big fucking ass during the greatest transformation of wealth in the history of the world? What were you fucking doing? Fuck all, nothing. That's what most of you will tell them, your grandchildren and your children. It's never going to get any better than this, kids. This is as I said on YouTube, the eye of the perfect motherfucking storm. This is it. I never thought I'd live to see it again. This is going to make the 80s look like a nursery rhyme, which I praise Allah, praise Buddha, praise God. I participated in slashing and raping everybody in the 80s. Legally. This is going to make that look like a fucking nursery rhyme. And what are you going to tell your kids? Oh, I had to spreadsheet it. I had to think about it. I had to read another book on M&A, you fucking morons.